Goodness. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG Show. Proud member of the Tabletop RPG Network. This is episode 32, The Dice Girls. We're calling this one. I don't know why we're calling it that, but we're going to call it that. Recorded March 17th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, a.k.a. The Murder Hobo. And I'm here with my bowel brother, my colon cousin, my pancreas pal, Uncle J. Raz, a.k.a. Captain Crapton. Crapton colon. What is
Crafton
going?
colon.
That's right. What is going on, my man?
Oh, you know how it goes, my man. See, the reason I call this the Dice Girls is because it rhymes with Spice Girls, and I figured, back in the day, you could always talk about who your favorite Spice Girl was, and I thought, like, well, because we're going to talk about dice later, I thought it was going to be appropriate for what's going on. In fact, who was your favorite Spice Girl, real quick?
Who is the thick ginger with the big bajubies?
Yeah, Ginger Spice.
Is that who that was? I guess there you
Yeah,
go. She's the one. And
yeah,
then there's one of them that married the football guy. I can't remember who
yeah.
she is.
That was Posh Spice who married David Beckham, the soccer player. Or the
My
football
what?
player. He's a footballer, as that Welsh guy would say.
Wow. Oh man, the Spice Girls. Welcome to the Spice
Well,
Girls podcast.
well, see, here's the thing too, because I figured we could call ourselves the Dice Girls, and I could call myself, you could call yourself you could call yourself Fatty, and I can call myself Farty. So
Why can't I be farty? I
either
mean,
one, it's interchangeable. I mean, think about it, it's interchangeable. I could be Fatty one day, you could be Farty.
I'm gonna be Stanky Spice. That's what I'm gonna be.
Oh,
Maybe I'll
yeah, that
right.
inappropriate spice or dice.
Inappropriate kid touching spice. What? Wait.
Oh no, no, no.
Oh man. So this is a podcast about role-playing games in any shape or size, and as usual, we're going to ramble incoherently in an attempt to sound like we know what we're talking about. We are an RPG entertainment podcast, and although you might occasionally be able to glimpse a nugget of truth or inspiration from our many years of gaming experience, we promise it's going to be completely unintentional. Also, please note that we stream this podcast live on Twitch and convert it to podcast audio format. You can check us out every second Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And I think
Yep.
that's it for me. What do you got, Jay?
Yep. So, with all that out of the way, tonight's show, with time permitting, we're going to talk about. Well, we've been talking about if we were to go ahead and create the Murder Hobo Show RPG, and what kind of mechanics we would use. So, this is going to launch that little topic of discussion. What what are the cool or what kind of mechanics would you use in your kick-ass RPG if you were going to go ahead and build one? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Gary's going to go ahead and review some stuff, and it's always interesting when Gary gives something to read. You get his perspective on it, and yeah, we're just going to talk about some other cool stuff that we got good that we picked up in and amongst the RPG community.
Very nice. Yeah, for sure. I see that you wrote in here as long as I don't turn this into another bitch fest. I appreciate that.
Uh, yeah, buddy. I didn't think you actually read my blue stuff, so
I always read your blue stuff. Oh my god, man. What do we got? So this is the part where I ask you what you've been playing, what you've been slaying, as the 3T RPG guys usually talk. How's your Star Wars game going? You still enjoying the chicken bones rolling dice?
yeah, for the most part, yeah, whenever we can get when we can get to play, we haven't played in like a little bit. It's just hard to get schedules aligned because we were playing on Fridays, but Fridays like where everybody's wiped out and it's hard to get here on Friday night. So we moved it to Saturdays, which is a little bit easier. But however, though some schedule alignment didn't work out. Like niece was having car trouble and last weekend, and then this weekend it's one of the players' mom's birthday, so we're not gonna play. So hopefully maybe we'll sneak in a time when I'm on call, where we get to play. But yeah, still digging Star Wars, but I'm always looking on to the next game though.
Oh,
And there's a
what's
good
next?
well, here's the thing. The folks that I game with, that I used to have two live in person games. I had my family group, which I'm playing the Star Wars one with, and then I was running a little bit of Dead Lost Colony right before the pandemic struck. And so with my one group, with my friend group, and since that all went tits up, we decided like now everybody's all vaccinated and everything, and the CDC says, hey, if you're vaccinated, you can hang out with each other. I'm like, hey, that's cool. So everybody's getting vaccinated like by the end of I think by the middle of April, everyone in that group will be vaccinated. And I told them, I said, hey, my Deadlands stuff should be here in my hands by then. I got the tracking number and everything. They just got to get everything sorted out at the warehouse. I will have that hot stuff in my hand. I'm like, we can, I can run some Deadlands. And they're like, hell yeah. So there we go.
What was the big stink about people posting their "I got my tracking number" thing on the Facebook group? Was that an issue or was that a problem or what was that
Well,
all
I
about?
don't. Well, I guess it was people like posting. People would get their tracking number and getting it in different orders or whatever. But then people didn't realize too that a lot of like my stuff was delayed because I had the metal dice, and the metal dice that was hanging out there in customs. I had to wait a little while for it to get processed. I think, it's my understanding that's what happened. And so everybody was like bitching and moaning too. It was like, oh, this person got a tracking number. What's their last name? It starts with with a Q, so they got it before me. My last name starts with Y. Just dumb shit like that. Just all the speculation, and then everybody just posting their tracking number and then posting like gifs and being just like smug about it and just all this other stuff. That's why I'm not on Facebook, Gary. It's a flaming garbage doo doo fest. You know,
Wow. Yeah, it
it's
sounds
a
like a whole
it's a
bunch of Eric
dumpster.
Lamoureux's winding up a storm.
Oh, it's a dumpster fire full of diapers, man. What is what does that say? I don't want to go hang out over there, and that's the reason, and that's why everybody was making fun of it. Everybody's saying it's driving them crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's the reason. That's why I left like years and years ago. That's why my hair stopped turning gray.
Is that how you got that done? I left Facebook, man. I want to say 2 years ago now. Never
I
looked
think you
back.
and I left. I think you and I left around the same time, and I think it was easily 3 or 4 years ago for me. It might
Yeah,
have been 4. I worked. It may have been like 3 or 4 years. So, and I've been way happier ever since.
there are some people that I wish I could somehow figure out how to get in contact with that I just sort of was in contact with through Facebook. But man, morally, I can't be on that platform. Like,
Nah,
not that I'm some moral high ground kind of a guy, but when you listen to as many podcasts as I do about how they manipulated Brexit and then they did some other stuff and they've all of the election manipulation that they're being accused of and not fixing and stuff like that. I'm like, I'll go look for my own news, man. I don't want to be force fed. And that's kind of where I sort of drew the line. Like, I feel like Facebook is like force feeding you things that might not be true. Do you know what I mean? And I would
oh
rather go
yeah,
look for things, not be forced fed things.
right.
So I bailed
It all depends
hardcore.
on their. Yep, it all depends on their algorithm too. And for me, it was a security issue. When I found out that they were leaking information to such and such organizations, I was like, nah, I'm done. I decided to pull out. I was like, yeah, it's just a privacy issue. I don't need my shit smeared all over the place. I have I'm on Reddit. I just realized I had a Reddit account because I was looking up stuff, for if we're going to end up moving up to Washington, like if we're talking about going to Vancouver, Washington. Figure I'm on Reddit. I barely, and that's just I think I did my first post in like 3 years and on Reddit, and I do a little Discord, and I'm on MeWe just to talk to the regular gang, the regular group of doo doo
Nut
heads.
jobs, wackos,
Yeah, not
crazies,
just yeah, yeah,
lunatics, spazzes, uh,
crybabies.
right? Hell
That's what that's
yes.
what that's what they are. Just crybabies. Just that's what I call it.
It's
The
no better
crybaby
time than
crew.
no better time than the present to throw in a suck at John Marlin. I'm thinking,
Yeah, that's a good time. There's no time like any time. Say suck it, John Marlin. That one's out to you,
man,
there,
I was going
buddy.
to run my ICRPG campaign pretty much every week. I've got quite a bit of it prepared inside a tabletop stimulator, and I don't remember what happened on Sunday. I remember I was sick all night, man. I woke up with a friggin' headache and my guts churning, and all of a sudden this is
Well, did
the medical show.
right. Well, it always ends up turning into this. I mean, that's part of the appeal. That's how we get. That's sort of the crossover appeal is we get people with medical issues and we get RPG fans. So
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's just like going down to McDonald's with the retirement crew and having coffee every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning
Pretty
and
much.
talking about your aches and pains.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
Oh,
yeah,
you think you got a bad Earl?
I
I got
gotta.
this boil.
It's right in my sphincter. Man, that would be a shitty spot to get one. I mean, actually,
uh,
kind of both literally and figuratively, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, you don't want anything that you don't want anything of that nature just like growing on anything down there. And let me tell you, as a person with Crohn's disease, man, that's not a good you know that's not fun, especially when the
Not a
doctors go rooting around in there.
not a good anything. Um, all right. What do we got going on here? I got to split this thing over to the next segment so we can fire up the stuff that you think is cool because I didn't fill in anything that I thought was cool. Instead, I'm going to do a couple mini reviews, and even though I
Yeah,
don't think
that's
they're cool.
but I
I'm
mean,
just kidding.
I mean, you always manage to, even if you're going to crap on something, you always manage to at least. And I'm going to say this, you manage to find at least one good nugget out of something, though.
Uh,
I mean,
that's
out of
I was going to say that's what I do with my ladies. You know,
there you go.
I don't think I've ever seen a woman walk by me that I haven't thought to myself, I'd hit that. She's got nice ankles.
Right.
Look at the toes on her. Such a perv. Oh God, how dare you? All right, smashing this button here. All right, Jay. This is the stuff we think is cool. Now it's been 3 weeks. Hopefully, you've had some time to check around the internet to find some things that are cool and interesting, at least for you anyway, because we don't really care about anybody else, right? So,
It's
what do you
true.
what do
That's
you
what we're
got?
doing. We're just pretty much chilling online and we're just broadcasting it. That's all
Mm-hmm.
this is. And we're
We're
just
hanging.
talking RPGs.
We're dangling with our
Um,
butt boils.
well, so since I'm into the 3D printing thing, it's funny, you're all about the paper minis, which I think that's cool that you know so much about it, and that's kind of your angle. And I kind of wanted to, I figured maybe we need to cover like some 3D printing from this side of from this side of things, like what you don't, we pick up each other's slack. I like to think,
Is it
that's how the show
is
works.
That's what we do? I'm the guy
I
that
guess so.
cheers you on when you're
Or
feeling
or
low.
or or what I'm saying is too is like what I don't know you might know, like I don't know doo doo about D&D, and you pick up all the slack, and what you don't know about 3D printing or something. This is where I come in, and this is the stuff that I'm looking for. You're looking for the paper menu, you're looking for this and that, and this is you know I'm just saying that you cover you what you don't cover, I pick up, and vice versa. So
Gotcha.
anyway, so there's a couple things that I that caught my interest here on the Kickstarter tip as far as the 3D printing goes. Now, here's the biggest quandary that I have as far as like going out and like looking for the STL files to print some 3D minis is you're going to find fantasy elf dwarf shit out the wazoo. You're going to find like you're going to swing a dead cat and you're going to hit 43, 43 patrons or site like check out this site, the fantasy minis, check out this site, fantasy minis. You're going to see all that all up and down. So every once in a while you're going to see some sci-fi minis, which is great. You're going to see some cyberpunk sort of minis, and you're going to see some military minis. What you're not really going to see, you're just some regular ass like civilian minis. And so these ones are sort of like they represent like sort of like movie miniatures, like characters. And so this one is like the Colossal Miniatures Kickstarter. And what's really cool is like modern day survivors. It's got a bunch of like different sculpts of these different different sort of characters. Like you can get one. They have some characters that look like from the Big Lebowski, and like Falling Down, and also too like you pledge high enough too, which I did. I made sure that I pledged high enough that you actually get a stretch goal. You actually get the zombie counterpart. So if you want a bunch of zombie files, you get all this stuff. But it's like a bunch of these characters look like they ought to show up in like the old John Carpenter 80s movies, and like even some 90s movies like The Big Lebowski, and even some just like it's got some Evil Dead looking miniatures, and it's just got some crazy look, some stuff that you're not going to see on a regular basis. So I figured I was going to back that, and you can always use those as just like you're running a game like Rifts, or you're running a game like Necessary Evil. You can always use these folks as civilians or something when you're running that kind of game. And hey, if you can actually, now that I actually found something like that, I'm like, yeah, yes, I'm going to go ahead and back this. So that's one of the big things that I backed or took a look at. Another one here that I
Yeah,
thought was pretty cool.
that's actually really cool, dude. These are fantastic. There's an Elvira looking one. You've got the. I got to tell you a funny thing too. So you know how you're talking 2D, 3D. Well, these are pretty sweet 3Ds. These look like they're from Zombicide. You've got the, like you said, the Big Lebowski guy. He's in there. You got Ash from the Walking Dead. What's his face with the axe? He's the guy that breaks
Yep.
through the door. So that's cool to have him in there.
Yep.
Who's holding the golf club with I don't know, what is that? Is that like a bunch of golf clubs in a bag there? I see that
Yeah, I'm
he's
not.
on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is. I mean, and I'm probably going to lose a little bit of nerd card or whatever there, but no, but the guy next to him over there, that's Snoop Dogg. If you look hard enough, they call him Calvin, and that's Snoop Dogg's real name. And then you got
Yeah.
Dirty Harry right below him. Um, Now, the coolest one I think is if you see the guy holding a shotgun in the glasses, that's Roddy Piper from They Live, which is a classic movie, man. I love that's one of my
Nice.
favorite movies. So yeah, it's just got
Nice.
all of these represented too. And like you said, it's got Elvira. I think it even had like a Foxy Brown like type character
Yeah.
or something like that. So that's kind of cool.
No, that's sweet. And then what are you in for this one for? $50 or something like that? And you get all of these things?
Yeah, not yeah, $50 and that's about it. And you get all of these files, and the more that they keep, the more that they get on top of it, the more that they unlock, the more that they're gonna, the more files that you're gonna go ahead and unlock too, and they're gonna unlock these different zombie counterparts. And I think this is something I would definitely like, because like I said, I run a lot more modern slash sci-fi, like supers and riffs and stuff like that, as opposed to like fantasy games. And also too, man, nobody's hurting for fantasy anything, I don't believe.
Right.
Let's be let's be real. There should only be about five solid fantasy companies making products. Everybody else should be doing it. Or maybe not, man. Maybe that's a niche market I could, fill that void or whatever.
So
Filling a void.
do you remember a couple of weeks back I was asking in the chat something about um, I can't remember what it was. Basically, anyways, so in Tabletop Simulator, I found this table that had all of very similar to this, except in 2D already pre-done, and I was looking at them, and they're actually characters from Zombicide, I think is the name of the game. I'm pretty sure. But I thought to myself, it'd be really cool to make pre-gens for all of these, but there's like 120 of them, so I'd need help getting it done. There's no way I'm going to do it myself. But it would be cool just to have Savage Worlds pre-gens of all of these characters, because you've got like the Big Lebowski and all of these like crazy looking Elvira broads and stuff like that. And then anytime you want to go play a Savage Worlds game, I've got that pre-gen in-game built into a card kind of a deal, and you're off to the races. We could literally play anything, and you could just randomly choose from the same kind of a deal. Oh, I like the looks of this Elvira character, and away you go. That's friggin' cool, man.
Well, if you want to, man, I can always pull up Savage US, and I can stat out some. If you want to just make out some straight up just core plus trappings, there's one for you there, Tommy. If you're listening, core plus trappings, baby. That'll get your nipples all afire. Um,
uh,
but yeah, man, if like one of these times where I'm not getting my butt kicked at work or whatever, and I'm just sort of goofing off, I can totally like spin up some just straight up Savage Worlds, just straight up pre-gens for these guys. It's
yeah.
going to take me a little time. I'll probably crank out like 5 or 6 a day. But if there's a bunch of them, or actually, if you said there's 120, I might have to step it up a little bit, maybe like 10 a day. But
we
if
would
I look
totally
at
have
them
to
all,
step it up. But it'd be cool if you did like a say
yeah,
like a 50 Fathoms game, and then your pre-gen is the Big
yep,
Lebowski guy or one of them, right?
right
Um,
there you go.
Let
Yep.
me check out and see if this comes up right. Okay, that comes up well enough. My big head's a little too high up in the screen, but the next one you got here is 3D printable sci-fi terrain.
Yeah, that's another thing too that I was looking at because, like I said, I run a lot more sci-fi things, and I do have some of the battle systems terrain. I don't. What I have though is I have like post-apocalypse, fantasy. Yeah, it's pretty much post-apocalypse and fantasy that I have like as far as battle terrain goes, battle systems goes. I don't have any like straight up sci-fi terrain, and this is something I was looking at here. This 3D printable terrain. This looks like you could do a lot. I mean, this is very Star Wars esque looking stuff. This is very you could get away with like saying that you could use this for Dune. You could use this for a lot of stuff, man. In fact, the way that you go ahead and you just crank it out and you print it out and throw a little do a little dry brush do a little dry brushing on this business, man. You ain't got to make it look you want to make it look weathered. You could just throw that on this business, man, and set it up. You're ready to go. Like it
How
has got a
long?
bunch of like turbines and stuff. Oh, go ahead there, bud.
I was going to say, how long would it take you to print something like this off? Like, let's say the mini reactor. How what are you looking at? A
Well,
couple hours overnight, kind of a thing?
if you wanted to print out just a small piece, I'd say like I want to say if you had like a mini reactor or whatever, that would probably it would probably be come in pieces, and it would probably take you about it would take you maybe about a maybe about 12 hours.
Wow, that long, eh?
And that's in pieces or whatever. Sometimes it takes a little while, but actually I've been printing out these little miniatures where when I go to you have to when you get these files you have to translate it in something that the printer can read. So there's a program called a slicer that you run it through, and that estimates. That's the one that calculates like, okay, this is how much filament we're going to use, and we're going to and this is the speed it's going to go at and everything like that. And once it does that, it spits out an estimate of when of how long the figure is going to take to print. A lot of times it's been saying like 2.5, 3 hours, but I've been printing these suckers out in about 2 hours. So the speed, so your speed may vary, and also too, if you're continually firing this stuff off, if you're like like I got my 3D printer right by me, all I got to do as soon as one's done, I just wait for it to cool off a little bit, clean the plate, and slap another one. Dude, if I have it going, it can take a lot less. It'll be at the time, it'll be the time gap like between when I go to bed and and wake up that I'm not printing anything.
The did you look at that printer that we were talking about that will print? It prints on a 45, and
Yeah,
then it hits on a
yeah, on
belt.
that. Yep. I thought that's pretty slick too, man. I'd have to see how much one of those are, man. Now that I, kind of have an idea about what I'm doing. But yeah, if you
Yeah,
want to continually print, it's like go ahead and set it all up. And I'm almost like here's the thing too. I'm just doing stuff like one at a time. And if I wanted to, I could set it up to where I could have it print out like multiple figures. And also too, I have a resin printer that I haven't busted out yet. And if you want to do like a bunch of figures, like I could do like 8, 9 figures, in like 3 hours, in a resin printer.
no, that's very cool.
So
Yeah, that is pretty damn sweet.
yeah,
All right,
I just need to wait until the weather's a little bit better so I can set it up outside, out in the
third
garage.
third on the list. What do we got? You got another thing down here.
Yeah, man, this is our baby. We decided we wanted to both
Oh yeah,
back the
go back
like
to the old
man.
PDF. I was so excited for this. I'm stoked. I can't wait to read it.
Me too. They were I keep so this is what I backed here. It's Tales from the Trail. I would say Trails from the Tail because I'm a moron. But Tales from the Trail, which is a new compendium of adventures for the After RPG. And the After is one of those things that came out last year, and we backed it. I want to say you and I backed it early on when we read the Jump Start, and they released the Kickstart. I want to say it was like 2019. Backed it, and they released the After on PDF. I want to say it was sometime like maybe September, October. And yeah, we've really been. This is one of the most exciting settings to come out. I think in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, it's interesting. There's some cool stuff, man. Like when you find a weapon or something like that, there's because of the unique nature of the world that you live in, There's what is there? There's there's two things. You've got like these nanobots that are floating around all over the place that you can't see. They land on shit and mess it up. And then you've also got like genetically or clouds of like DNA manipulating material. So you've got not only the mechanical side but the physical or gene
Yep.
side of it, kind of a deal. So you can find a gun or a weapon like that, and then when you're shooting it, if something goes wrong, your gun will all of a sudden, you can give it a trait. Like I think one of them was slippery, which was really
Yep.
cool. So you can imagine you apply that to a shotgun and you squeeze the trigger on it, and the force of it on a mishap or a club or something like that would make it shoot
Yep.
out of your hands, and you would basically drop it. I'm like, that is
Yep.
pretty sweet. Plus, they take care of things with the nanobots and biodegrading and all of that stuff. Like your gear is constantly wearing out, which was pretty cool. So this one here, it does it say how many or what it's going to be? Because it does say that it's Tales from the Trail. So this is just going to be. I mean, I didn't even read it because I was just on it. I'm like, I'm getting it. So this is a compendium. So the book itself will be a minimum of 50 pages, more with stretch goals, featuring full color, detailed, and provocative artwork by John Gibbons. Be available in PDF as well as print on demand, which is pretty sweet. So if you're looking at 50 pages, maybe 5 adventures, kind of a thing, hopefully.
Yep. And so yeah, if you look down here, there's some stretch goals if they get over. Yeah, it's because I think John Gibbons is based out of England. So a lot of this stuff is in pounds. And so I think it translates though in Kickstarter. Kickstarter translate over to USD and CAD. So, but yeah, stretch goals if they get over like 3,200. Yeah, it's 30. If they get over like 3,200 pounds, you get more. You get more alien remnants and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And you get some scientific notes from Ali Morgan, who's one of the I want to say she's a librarian or whatever in the original in the book. So you get some information from her, and you get some information from Zachariah Cole. He's that sort of like that ranger guy that Clint. He's sort of like that, like the bigger Clint Eastwood guy that that they have featured in the after. I think he's pretty
I gotta
cool.
do a reread on that. But that was a fantastic setting, man. It's very cool. You got a couple alien races that you could play, the little rat people or the big giant Goliath, and then all the humans and stuff like that. Plus whatever
Yeah,
kind
the
of weird,
changed. Yeah,
yeah,
the changed. Those
yeah,
mutated guys.
whatever kind of weird mutated rhinoceros or some kind of weird squid, land-based squid thing you're going to come across, right? It's like, that's the cool part about it, is that and that's what gives it legs, is you can come up with these unique creatures for your party to go up against. Just, you make an elephant or like a woolly mammoth all of a sudden with an octopus face, and it's coming at you with like tentacle tusks or some cool thing.
Right.
That's right off the top of my head, right? That'd be sweet.
Yeah. Now, what's pretty cool about this, if you look further in, to what they offer as far as if you go to the campaign page, they showcase like some of the adventure map examples, and I think it's too because they talk about that series, that floating island sort of breach zone that they talk about, and they have that laid out, and they actually have some gridded maps and everything like that too to lay out, for possible VTT use if you wanted to throw one of these adventures online or something, or at least that's what I see, or it looks like you can translate that over to the virtual tabletop realm pretty easily.
I was muted there for a second. There is a brief summary of what there's going to be three, I guess: Death in the Depths by Aid Smith, The Right Hand of Nothing, and The Trails of Ascension. So there's three, and then there's some maps, and then I guess with stretch goals they're going to put in optional adventures. So depending on how much money they make, so yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
man, I
stoked.
agree.
I am pretty stoked. I
Me
really
too.
thought the After was a cool setting. I'd really like to play it. I think I was reading more of the last parsec today for Savage Worlds, and I'm pretty sure I'm going with Iron Gate. But if I don't, it's going to be the After. Like, it's just too freaking cool.
Well,
Um,
I signed up for either one.
yeah. Ah, man, you got to bring back your bug race guy,
Oh
whatever he
yeah, oh
was.
definitely. If you would let me, I would like to resurrect old Zoran's Zorak Zoran or whatever his name was. Yeah, he was one of my favorite bug guys, or one of my favorite characters in Savage Worlds. And like I
Yeah.
had to like, and I normally don't do this either. I normally just like reserve I only think about a character when I'm actually playing, but like I actually had like a little backstory thought up for this guy where he was like a little alien dissident, and he got, and he was trying to stop a workers' revolt there on his planet, and that's how he got arrested and whatever. And he's actually a lot more. He just couldn't communicate with anybody. But he was a lot more sage and a lot more wise than a lot of people led on to. But he just couldn't. He just had no way to communicate really with anybody.
Yeah, no, it was funny because I remember he was doing the protein thing all the time. It was just like it was his only
Yeah, he
concern
was
was the fucking
hungry.
protein.
Yeah, he was
It's
just
good to
hungry all the
eat.
time. He couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't think.
He couldn't. He couldn't. Yeah, that was it. It was like protein. Everything just wanted to eat. Okay, fantastic, man. That's some cool looking stuff. Man. I'm pretty excited about those 3D minis that you're getting. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
I
man. I'll
think
print you off some stuff. I'll
I
print you off
think
and send you some. Yeah, whatever.
those ones are the bomb. I think that's pretty sweet. Between that and the trail deals. All right, Gary's mini review corner. Here we go. Are you ready for this action, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Um, so main page PDF, we're gonna shoot over here. Drive through RPG, Big Apple Sewer Samurai. I don't know if I paid the $7 for this. I know I bought it. Maybe it was on sale. I don't remember. But it said that this is the love letter to action cartoons of the 80s and 90s, more specifically, a toolkit for Savage Worlds Adventure Edition to emulate the fun and mayhem of the Saturday morning animated shows. Whether you plan to use the included micro setting or create your own inspired by your favorite show, you'll find everything you need to play, Jay. Did you know that? You were muted there. You got
No,
more
buddy.
than 30 new edges, 6 new character races with 25 unique variations, and guidelines to create your own stat blocks for dozens of adversaries, and 4 one-page adventures with 8 iconic pre-gens. It says this is not a complete product and requires Savage Rules core worlds to play. So, Big Apple Sewer Samurais. Check it out. The front page is absolutely freaking stunning. You got some crazy looking lizard man coming out here dressed in his little monk like uniforms with his gloves and his little, what is that? He's got like a samurai sword, but it's in its case kind of a thing. And
That is
then,
called a naginata.
is that what that is? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it's a
sweet.
two-handed. That is a two-handed, like almost like a halberd or whatever weapon that they use.
I'm gonna
So
hit
this guy,
your.
like,
Go ahead.
yeah, he's gonna hit you in the ding ding with it.
I was gonna
That's a
say he's gonna
ding ding
hit you
stick.
right in the naganatis.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, yeah, the cover is fantastic, man. You got a bunch of mutated looking lizard men. This guy's got a giant friggin' ass club and stuff like that. This is, I'm pretty sure it was 60 pages or something like that. The layout is not too bad. This stuff here is a little bit hard to read, table of contents and stuff like that. But it's nice that they put just the headers are like that. You know what I mean? Um, so it says that the Big Apple Sewer Samurai is heavily influenced by action cartoons from the 80s and 90s. And as such, it aims to reproduce as much as possible of the ambiance of those shows and tropes found within them. This was my only complaint about this product, is that it literally has, to as far as I'm concerned anyway, in my opinion, it has nothing from the cartoons of the 80s and 90s except for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where you take that idea of the Mutant Ninja Turtles and just cram in any other anthropomorphic. Is that when you animalize things? Basically, like you want to put a rhinoceros or you want to put a lizard or a monkey or whatever, right? You can basically just turn them into the sewer samurai. Um, but it doesn't give off that feeling of 80s and 90s cartoons, which is the original reason why I bought it. So when I was reading it, I was reading it with that kind of jaded thing in my mind. But if you want to get into playing some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then you want to add on that little bit of a twist where you can throw in your extra, your zebra or something like that. You're a sewer samurai zebra. You're good to go. So,
So so essentially, what you're getting at here is this is a good sort of toolbox if you wanted to play anthropomorphic martial artist type heroes.
Yes, absolutely. It is 100%.
Is
That
that a
is
fair
what it
statement?
is. Yeah, but there's really not really any
But
kind
ain't
of
nothing wrong with that.
nope, nope. I just felt
With
that I was a little bit misled. I was kind of hoping there'd be some kind of slapstick sort of ding
you
dong
were wanting,
coyote. Yeah,
oh,
that's what I
you were
thought.
wanting some Looney Tunes mixed. You wanted some Looney Tunes mixed in with your. You wanted the
Yeah,
crossover Looney Tunes mixed in with your Ninja Turtles.
I was
Man, you know
expecting.
what's funny though? Like when they start talking about like cartoons of like the 80s and 90s, like I was like when the 90s hit, I was like 17. So it's not like I was too old to watch like except when the Batman cartoon came out. I really like the Batman and the X-Men cartoon. I like those because I was reading comic books at the time. But no, it's not like I like the 80s and 90s cartoons. I was working. I was in the army when in the fucking 90s, man. So
Yeah, I was
you
kind of
know,
hoping there might have been some, maybe like a touch of superheroes kind of a thing, some Marvel superheroes. Like I
yeah,
remember when I was a kid watching the Fantastic Four when Mount St. Helens
yeah.
blew up in the 80s and stuff
Oh
like that,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. And they
but
had and we had the Super Friends too, which was I
right.
mean these were dumb and dorky as hell, but I mean we had them.
So yeah, so this Big Apple Sewer Samurais is like where is this right here? It's basically there's this guy who at a young age started. Here's the setting. So Nathan Toshigawa, the son of a Japanese immigrant, founded Toshigawa Tech. So you got this big tech corporation pretty much takes over the entire world, has all this money. He sort of becomes a bit of a recluse inside of the company. The CEOs get a hold of the deal and they start doing a bunch of stuff and it becomes rotten. And then he comes back and tries to take it over, but everything goes sideways. And so these people, because they've done so many sort of weird crimes, I guess, with their tests and their alterations and chemically influencing things and all that kind of stuff, right? So because of all of that, when the company when it starts to get taken back, this is the whole premise. The company basically starts shredding the papers and flushing everything into the sewers. So all of these toxic chemicals get dumped into the sewers, and there is a bunch of, I want to call them sort of like treasure troves, if that makes sense, but they're not really treasure troves. They're like secret laboratories scattered throughout the city. All of them were owned by Toshigawa Tech. And so each one of these things will contain some kind of maybe laser weapon or some kind of high tech, high powered armor suit or something like that, is really sort of the premise behind it. And so people are trying to go and get these things, and you're trying to, and they're all secret, like nobody knows where these vaults or bases are. And so that is generally the gist of how you play the game. But yeah, this sucker was 60 pages long. There's a bunch of different people down that live in the whatchamacallit, in the sewers. You have like the Oracle, um, some guy that can tell whatever. He stumbled into a portal, went 20 years into the past, and so he's not really an Oracle. I guess he is, but he's just a guy from the future, kind of a thing. You've got the Tusk Squad, an aggressive and territorial group of mutant animals. The Visage, which is a group of ninjas led by the Stalker. Like if this doesn't reek of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I don't know what it is. But then other than that, there really isn't much to go on. You've got a couple of interesting locations, which is pretty sweet. And then there's some stuff on the tech vaults, the Iron Forge Refuge, where a bunch of people hide. It tells you how they get fresh water down in the sewers. And then there's some alien races, but there is some alien races, and there is some. You can see here, you've got humans. So there's some alien physiology. Bigfoot, if you want to play it. The bulk are like, what does it say? They look like muscular humans without a head. So yeah, you've got quite a. There's fuzzlies, morphers. A fuzzly is a like a little fuzzy sentient being, like I guess like a furry, a little furry stuffed animal kind of a thing. A morpher, which is basically a shape changer. Yokai are inspired by Japanese myths. They have varied physical appearances, but always have a terrifying aura and ghost-like abilities. So there's quite a few. The Syrian, obviously, they're like some kind of lizard race and stuff like that. And then you've got some artificial constructs. So there is actually quite a few different races and things that you can play in this, right? Like you've got your furries and you got all your different deals. But the whole premise of this actual setting in particular is the tech vaults and finding the new gear and stuff like that. And that's pretty much Big Apple Sewer Samurais in a nutshell. Look, there's even, can you see the duck, Jay?
Yep. That's pretty awesome. Samurai duck.
Samurai ducks and stuff like that. And then they've put in a bunch of if you wanted to play a horse, a monkey, a skunk, a hippopotamus, a reptile. This is just basically how you take your anthropomorphized base structure, and let's say if you're a fox, instead of being an elk and giving yourself size +1 and armor +2, you're going to give your fox extra smarts and spirit, and that's how you can sort of play all of the
Man,
different races in. Right, here's a raccoon, the
raccoon.
raccoon race. Pretty
That's
cool, right?
all you. That's all I need to do in life is be a raccoon.
Yeah, you get a D8 in agility, thievery, stealth. You get
Yep.
bite and quirk germaphobe.
Yep. Got to
So
wash your hands.
it's not too shabby. There's like I said, my only disappointment with it was that I was expecting there to be some more 80s cartoon stuff, but it really is just jam packed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff that is just not with turtles. Teenage Mutant
Man,
Ninja anthropomorphized
right.
sewer samurais.
I don't know. To be fair, like I guess though, but if you think about it, a lot of this stuff's already been covered. Like if they would cover like, what is it, Transformers too, and maybe a little, well, GI Joe's already been covered by Freedom Squadron, which takes no fewer than what 12 books to play. Last count. Ugh, Freedom Squadron. Uh, uh,
um, so there's this. This also has a couple of different styles, which is pretty sweet. You've got the Shinobi style. Each style gives you an individual way of fighting with your character. You get a few little extra quirks and stuff like that. Like there's, I don't want to really go into too much detail as I quickly skim through this, but there's like street fighting style, veteran lawman style. There's one that's like stealth where you can disappear, and that one was a little bit weird. I remember seeing something about that, the way that you stealth or vanish or something like that. You got some arcane backgrounds with gifted magic and some other stuff, but there's psionics in it, and then it tells you what you can take for spells and abilities. There is weird science, which is pretty cool. And then yeah, I mean, other than that, there really isn't much more to say. Big city or Big Apple sewer samurais, man. If you want to, play a rhinoceros that kicks ass and takes names in the sewer, this is what you're looking at.
That's not bad because I mean you have that market. I don't know if that's something. I don't know if there's anything big that covers something like that too, where you can just play as something that resembles like the Ninja Turtles or what was they had a bunch of those in the '90s too. They had a bunch of knockoffs. I think it was Ninja Turtles and Battletoads, and then you had like Bucky O'Hare and some other bullshit or whatever. But they also, yeah, if you wanted to play all that stuff too, but I guess if you're thinking too, like you might be able to squeak some like Batman the animated series out of there. Maybe you could do it. I don't know. Vigilante City, I think is that's more representative. I think of, but that's not for Savage Worlds. That's for ICRPG. I'm
Yeah,
totally off base here, but still,
yeah, it's all right. You're in the RPG ballpark, bud. That's all that matters. You know
yeah,
what
that's true.
I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah.
Adversaries. You got the Bureau of Homeland Protection, so you've always got these guys trying to hunt you down. You've got hackers, informants, and then there's a couple of special guys like Braxton from Braxton Industries. He's a genius with more than a streak of madness. Braxton is obsessed with the legacy of his old boss. He's a master of fringe science. So there's a couple of like boss mans that you can go up against, chimeras and stuff like that. All said and done. This sucker was 30 some odd pages long. There's a couple adventures in the back. I think it said there was 4 or something like that. So not a bad deal for $10 if you want to do some goofy kind of, like I said, samurai ass kicking kind of a deal. So we don't really need to go. And the layout is pretty decent, which is all right. The artwork's not too bad at all. So yeah, all things said and done, I was pretty impressed with it. To be honest with you, I was just like I said. I felt like I got a soft sale. I went in and they're like, "Hey, do you have any '80s cartoon RPGs?" And they're like, "No, but let me show you this over here." You know what I mean? I got the upsale
Right.
kind of a deal. So yeah, that's my little mini review on that one. I think I gotta shrink this one down, and we're gonna shoot over to the next one, which is, I will zoom in on this and see if you could see it, Jay, called Citizens Divided. Are you big cyberpunk guy?
It's all right. I'm actually playing the video game, and I actually, because I got an Xbox Series X, and it runs a lot better on the Series X. But I think I just got to the point of the game where it's just like, I just hit a wall, and it just I don't really care anymore.
This sucker
So I'm gonna go
is
back to playing Assassin's Creed, but it's okay. It's cool. There's some cool stuff in it.
Yeah, this sucker is, I gotta zoom in on this thing and get it set up, is about 40 pages long. So yeah, well within my 72 page wheelhouse. Big Apple Sewer Samurais was 60 pages. I think I got this one on sale last week or something like that for $2.99. And again, I'm not a big cyberpunk guy, but there's what is cyberpunk? Cyberpunk is a future in which the big corporations, mega corporations, take over, and the government gets kicked out, and essentially the corporations rule the world. Right? That's kind of the gist. This Citizens Divided, from what I read, couldn't be anything more than that. That's it in a nutshell. If you don't have a cyberpunk setting and you want something sort of light, this is your go-to. Citizens Divided, the role-playing game. It's a role-playing game about life among the 99%. It kind of shows a post-apocalyptic kind of looking setting, kind of a thing, but I didn't really get that feeling from it. It's like there are people with money. Again, post cyberpunk settings and stuff like that usually have like a top down. Have you seen any of the Snowpiercer? The front of the trains where all the rich people are, and then all the bums live
I
in the
saw the
back.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
saw the
just
movie. I didn't watch the show though.
TV shows the same thing, buddy. And so this has that kind of hierarchy of people that have stuff, right? Everybody's trying to get stuff. Everybody's trying to have stuff. But when I was reading this thing, the art's not bad. I like this comic style looking art, right? But you see what I mean? It doesn't look post-apocalyptic to me at all, even though the cover shows these people running through like some, old bridge. Like, I don't want to scroll back, but this looks like a city in downtown Tokyo, or Japan or something like that. You got the Asian writing on the walls and stuff like that. There's a little bit of English toshed in there, but this is, some dude walking through a busy intersection kind of a thing. And then the setting information: 50 years from now, in 2068, the Western world is in crisis. Multinational corporations swell to critical mass in the early 21st century, seizing the vast majority of wealth, political power, and control. And I was reading it and thinking to myself, there is nothing here. Like, I it's not bad. I like the layout. The layout looks good, but there is nothing outside of your bare bones base cyberpunk. It's not like cyberpunk with zombies or any of that kind of stuff. It literally is just, it is the purest form of cyberpunk. So I shouldn't really say it like it's a bad thing. Like, if you don't have a cyberpunk setting, why not get this one? It's 40 pages. It's pretty straightforward. And, if you can create your own adventures and stuff like that, this would be the way to go, because there really isn't much going on here, right? It is straight up old fashioned, uh, futuristic cyberpunk. So I don't really have much to say, and that's why this is a mini review. Do you know what I mean?
Ta-da!
That's it. Yeah, welcome to a cyberpunk. Let me scroll down to the bottom. So, you do have some augments and you do have some tech in this, which is kind of cool, right? People pay for genetic manipulation and stuff like that. So if you're looking to throw some of that in your game for the price I paid for $2.99, this had some good ideas. There might have even been, yes, there's some exopilots. So there's, you know what I mean? There's that kind of tech with the suits and stuff like that. But there is a bit of mutation. And again, there's hacking. They call it decking or something like that when you're trying to break into a thing. So there's some rules for that in here. But like I said, that's all part of your basic cyberpunk kind of a game, right? And it's all sort of in here. The augments are kind of cool. You can get away with, like, replacing your arms with cybernetic arms and stuff like that, or you can have genetic manipulation, gene freaks. They can, increase their strength. And that's kind of what you do. Then you've got the executives that are the rich class and blah, 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 blah. And you do cyberpunk stuff. and that's really all there is to it. But this layout's actually pretty sweet. It's got some decent artwork in it. It has from start to finish, it has a very sort of cartoony artwork kind of a feel to it. And yeah, you got some gutter punks. So are these the bad guys? Oh no, these are what you could play: a face character, gutter punk, the hacker, or what you would call the decker kind of a thing. Who is this guy? The techie. He fixes your shit, and I guess you just go around and you do jobs for people. Uniform is your basic citizen in this one here. And yeah, there's a couple of edges and stuff like that you can take. This was the one weird thing that I found about this. Like, if you look here, it says cyborg, science fiction companion. So this edge is not appropriate for citizens divided, as the level of technology required for augmentation so extensive that it is not available. Why are you putting stuff in? This is a waste of words. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you can't. Here's a thing. Here's an edge. You can't use it. Here's an edge. You can't use it. Here's an edge. You can't use it. I don't understand why they put this kind of stuff in here. It was like,
They have to, man, because that way they have to, you can. They're pretty much saying that you can go ahead and pick through the, you can use these elements of the sci-fi companion, but these ones are going to go ahead and blow blow the power level out of the water. It's like when I was reading what was it, Legion of Liberty, and I said, this would be, because they were doing like the whole, they did the whole skill thing where you have a skill roll instead of doing something else, which that was what old what they had superpowers based on back in the old deluxe rules, and I thought that was kind of weird. And they ended up in Manuel Sams ended up wrote a little superpower companion conversion for that, and so that was pretty cool. I actually helped him with that, but I didn't get any credit for it. Piece of
oh, that
crap.
scumbag, freaking Manuel.
Pap, pap. That's what you do to a Manuel.
Wow. Yeah, so here's some stuff on some cyberware in here and whatnot. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, like I said, it's a good little. I think I paid like $3 for it or something like that for 40 pages. Gives you a couple of ideas on stuff. There's a bit on exosuits. Look at this fantastic looking art, Jay. Hey, what do you think of that action? Got a little wifty.
Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good, man. I like that.
So yeah, that's that I guess I should describe what I'm looking
Those
at.
are some
It's
power armor right there. That is a
yeah.
big hunk of. That is just a big hunk of like Halo styled. Well, actually, it looks like if Halo meshed with Warhammer, sort of power armor. Warhammer, Warhammer 40K. Big
Got
ass
some.
gun.
Oh, so this thing even is called a deck, a custom built portable computer built for hacking. It's called a
Yep.
deck. Do you see what I mean? It's
Yep.
the Citizens Divided is literally generic cyberpunk.
Yeah. It looks like I would. Yeah, I would say so. It looks like it's a little more. They kind of hone in on like life's a little more desperate and that sort of thing. But that's like cyberpunk, man. That's always sort of the appeal that like the corporations are out to get you. You're going to lose your identity and everything like that. So you might as well go big or go home. With the crazy cybernetic chrome and crazy mohawk and whatever. However loud.
Look at this guy.
Loud your ears. Yep.
Hey,
See, I just said mohawk. There you go.
yeah, his hot mashed up teeth that are all yellow, and he's got the goggles on and his giant red mohawk, gutter punk and stuff like that. So you got some adversaries and stuff like that, legendary gutter punk and whatnot. All things said and done, both of them were pretty cool. I didn't have really any problems with either of them. I got nothing bad to say about them other than, well, I got nothing bad to say. So, with that said, we got a couple of minutes left here. I guess we're going to run long on this one because we're going to get into some dice with our little starter. Whatchamacallit here? Our main topic, which is dice mechanics.
Dice mechanics, Dyson and you.
Yes, this sucker is going to run long. Okay, so I got to go back to the old main page Rooski here, and I'm going to put in a split here again. Oh, I gotta do a thing, Jay, because I keep forgetting to do this all the time. So here we go. All right. Main topic: dice and dice mechanics for the Murder Hobo Show RPG. This really isn't the Murder Hobo Show RPG. This is I'm going to keep track of your choice and my choice. And what we're going to do is we're going to quickly talk about the different dice mechanics that you can play in various systems. We can't cover everything. We just don't have that kind of time. So the systems that we're familiar with, the different styles of mechanics, what we maybe like about them and don't like about them, we'll describe them a little bit, and then we're going to choose a mechanic for the RPG of our choice that we're building. Now, I haven't given my RPG a name, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Hot Damn Awesome RPG or something along those lines. What do you got for a name for your RPG, Jay?
Oh, Raz RPG.
Oh, dude, that was easy. The Raz
For the listeners,
RPG.
for the listeners out there, it's a running joke that everything that I name, I make fun of stuff. Like I said, I was going to create my own VTT, and I was going to call it Raz 20, and I just came out today that Raz Corp comes up with a. I forgot what I said that Raz Corp was going to make today. So
Um,
either way, but yeah, but that's sort of the joke. Like I make, it was funny when I actually start 3D printing and stuff like that. That's what I ought to call it. It's just Raz Corp. Get your Raz Corp minis.
yeah, you never know. It might take off. You'll be like the next Amazon, and then before you know it, we're cyberpunking it because you've got all the money and I've got nothing.
I'll let you come work for me. You can clean my toilets.
Wow. I appreciate the fact that I've got a job in the near horrific future.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I've been playing a lot of ICRPG the last little while, and it's been a test campaign. I played D&D, a lot of D&D. Not a fan of the mechanics of D&D anymore. There's just certain things that you realize after many, 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 many years and playing other RPGs that fifth edition or actually any edition of Dungeons and Dragons just does not do things well. So we've got some over the course of 40 years, Ben, we've got some advanced game theory, right? We've learned some things. We know how to do stuff. I don't want to say. I guess I'm just going to say it. We've learned how to do stuff better, more
I
easy, and more interesting,
Yeah,
differently.
I'd say so. That well, the one thing that we've done over the course of the years is we stopped making this. Well, some of us have. I don't know how you feel about this, Gary, but they stopped making this. The impression was it was always like the GM versus the players. They stopped making it, more of a or stopped making the focus more on an adversarial point of view from the GM, and things have become more collaborative in a sense. I want to say way more collaborative over the course of time.
I got my little piece of paper right here, Jay. It says RPG. We got the Murder Hobo Show RPG on one side and the Raz RPG on the other. And we're gonna smash this sucker off. Okay, so what do we got for dice systems, Jay? Take the first one, and well, actually, I'll take the first one because you can do the second one. I haven't ever played GURPS. I'm familiar with it, but it's not a thing that I've been doing. So you got your standard D20 and the ubiquitous polyhedrals. Um,
Yeah, you got them. Everybody
these
likes
are
them.
right. Everybody knows this. These are your D&D dice. You got your
Yep.
4, your 6, your 8, your 10, your 12, your 20. You got your
Yep.
percentile dice, and you set a target number, roll your d20, and beat the target number. Now, back in the old days, this used to be sometimes you got to get under if you were doing saving throws, and you want to attack armor class, you had to get over. So it's been through various iterations over the different editions, but in fifth edition, the rule is higher is better, and they've sort of I don't want to say stabilized it, but they've brought everything together in a simple system where you can sit down and play the game and just understand that if you roll a 20, it's pretty much a success no matter what, and a 1 is going to be a fail no matter what. And then there's just varying degrees of difficulty challenges in between. That is your standard one. So how does GURPS work, Jay?
Okay, so I start like the one that I played a lot of. I want to say that I played the hero system for a good like 3 or 4 years when I was in the army. That was the main system. Now the way it's done is you play with hero, and GURPS kind of was born out of the hero system. Is you play with 3d6. You just get three dice. That's just three old random old dice that you got lying around, and you roll, and you have your score, and You have your ability scores and everything like that too. But the trick in with this game is you want to roll under rather than over. Like three, if you roll a three in GURPS or the hero system, that's a crit, where an 18 is a crit fail. And when I was telling you about that, you were saying that you're never really excited to roll, roll under about something. I said, well, you got to see it from this way: is now you can tell your wife that you can spin it that lower is better. Hey baby, 18 is bad, three is good now, so you can spin it like that.
Right. Yeah, it makes my 3-inch wiener way more impressive than my 18-inch
Yeah,
wiener. Right?
that's just too big. You
Right.
know.
Smaller is better.
Yep.
Um, so both of those work like that. Three, I guess three is a crit and 18 is a
Yeah,
success kind of a thing, or
yeah,
three is. I got you. I said it
yeah,
backwards
and
because
right, because you're used to, because you have to process it that, and that's the thing too. When I started rereading Hero System, because I ended up buying that goddamn um that bundle of holding. I just couldn't help myself. I got the Hero one and the Champions one, and no, I was rereading it, and I was like, oh man, that's why it makes so sense. That's why D&D never really clicked with me, because I didn't play a whole lot of it, and that's why I was used to like rolling under and everything when I got back into the stuff, and some things didn't make sense to me. It's because I was used to playing, Hero, where you had to roll under.
sorry. Bell said 18 is too big, and I said you can do it. 18's not too big, is it, Jay? I mean, you look like a guy that could handle 18.
18 tacos, yes.
Next on the list is exploding dice. You got Savage Worlds Torg and D6 Star Wars is an exploding dice system.
Oh yeah, back in the day, that was the first one that I ever experienced too, where you actually got to re-roll when you got a six.
You know what? I don't know why I wasn't. So I thought I was playing D6 Star Wars, but I'm not. Is that Saga? I'm playing.
No, no, this
That's
is the one.
D20.
Yeah, that's D20. Like Saga's for D20 system, it's cool, but this was the one that predated Saga.
Gotcha. So that's the one that I've been playing in the last little while. I was really excited, and then we got shut down with COVID. But I was playing the Star Wars Saga edition. So the exploding dice, you roll high. If you roll the highest number on your dice, you get to roll it again, and it just keeps going on till infinity. You literally could be rolling your dice for a year if you had a loaded dice that landed on 6 all the time, but that would just be dumb. Whenever you roll the maximum number on a die, you keep it rolling and add to your total value. I super enjoy this system, and there's a couple of reasons why. This, people are like, oh, Savage World is too swingy. Fuck off. Don't be a puss. You know what I mean? This is the weird part. Sure, it can be swingy. I don't know why you would call it swingy because, man, the chances, like in a given game, how many times do you see people explode up into the 30s that would actually make it swingy? Do you know what I mean? It might happen once or twice in one session, kind of a thing, but it's not happening every roll. There's a lot of failing going on inside of Savage Worlds, in my experience, anyway.
Yeah, there really
But
is too. And a lot of people don't know, especially when you're sitting in person, or when I play it, and you're getting people that aren't wholly familiar with the game, and they're sitting on a pile of bennies, and they don't know what to spend it. They don't know what to spend it on. I'm like, man, like you spend that to see if you can roll, to see if you can ace. And ace in Savage Worlds terms, that's when you get to re-roll. That's exploding dice. That's what they call it there. Their little parlance. But
yeah,
yeah, that means that you if you had a D8 and you rolled an 8, you get to roll it again and add the number ad nauseum.
yep.
What is
So
the most? What is the most? Like I've seen some big rolls before, like on Fantasy Grounds. What do you think? What has been the biggest roll that you've ever seen, like either in person or on a VTT?
I'll tell you my funny story. We were playing 50 Fathoms, and I ran him onto this island down in Korth Taw, into this little bay. And I think the place was called Vittoria or something like that, but there's a whole deal going on there. So in Vittoria, not Victoria, Vittoria, this little place down in Korth Taw, um, there's on Korth Taw, you've got it's like Kong, the movie Kong, where you've got these great big giant spiders and giant snakes, and they all get summoned. There's King Kongs and stuff, and so anyways, the whole place of Victoria was covered with wooden tree walls, kind of a, you know what I mean? It's felt like that. So inside of my Victoria, because I was playing with my kids, I put all the characters from Gilligan's Island. So I had the professor and stuff like that. And the professor's like, man, if you go outside and, here's a list of stuff that I need. I needed these kind of leaves. I need these kind of flowers. Gave me some coconuts and all this other stuff. I can make you some coconut bombs. Because if you ever remember Gilligan's Island, the professor always made shit from coconuts. And so I gave my friggin' players coconut grenades. And the funniest frickin' part was something happened. Oh, this is the thing with, they're always trying to take over the frickin', be the captain of the ship. And so this guy that I was playing with was the captain of the ship, and my kid and his buddies, they were going to kill him, and they wanted to be the captains. And so they got attacked by some monk apes. And in the process of being attacked, they had these coconut grenades. And the ship's captain was in a building, like on the edge of a building on the map, and there were some monk apes there, and my son took the grenade and he threw it, and he aced for 40 plus points. And I'm like, you do realize that if you do this, you are going to like blow the captain to smithereens, and I guess secretly that was their whole gimmick. So but yeah, we're talking 40 plus, and my 12-year-old kid's blowing man, I wish I could remember his name, the captain. He's not blowing the captain, he's blowing him up.
Right. I was like, well, yeah, please do. Please, yeah, retract that. Now, what was it? It's funny. It's funny. You had your example be 50 fathoms. Mine was rifts, man. And dude, like the biggest mistake that I did running rifts the first time that I did it was I was like, I said anything goes. And I realized you can't let just anything goes. And I mean, there's got to be some, I mean, you can to a certain degree let some things go, but like, don't let the dragon get three heads and have triple breath or some crazy shit that I let one of my players had. He played a dragon with like triple breath or something. Or I said, if you spend a Benny, you can like use triple, like use your breath, like, as three attacks or something. And so that fool, I sent a neuron beast after him, and I was getting ready to like try to puppet him because I mean that's a good way to take out a dragon. You mind control a dragon, then you got then you got a weapon you can use against somebody else. But I was getting ready to do that. That fool's like, all right, I'm going to hit you with my triple breath, and he gives me a Benny, and he already, it was like an already insane, like an insane amount of dice, like it was already like 40-12 or something, and he goes to roll it. Gary, it was like 56 damage, like just out of that roll. And I was like, geez. And he says, oh, and here we go. And then he had the bullseye card, the adventure card, which doubles range damage. So that altogether was something like, what was it, 112 damage or something like that.
Wow, that is insane.
Hmm. I was like, you son of a bitch. And so, yeah, no more adventure cards in my game.
That was the end of adventure cards. I like them,
Yeah.
dude. I love it when shit like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happens.
They're actually I do too, but you just gotta. The thing about it is like you gotta prune them, and you gotta get the right ones too, because some are appropriate and some aren't. Like you can't be having arcane cards and the friggin' when you're doing like wise guys or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 2d6 PBTA style. Your turn. Go.
Yeah, so Powered by the Apocalypse, they use this 2d6 style, which is pretty much it's a very, very loose mechanic. It's probably one of the loose. It's more loose than I think than the slot machines off I-5. You know what I mean? They're all
No,
the
I don't think
casinos,
lot lizards.
right? Yeah, that too. But yeah, it's more loose than it's more loose than a lot. More loose than the truck stops there off I-5. But anyway, yeah, it's very simple. It's a very simple game, and I didn't realize. I thought it was like too simple. Now there's varying elements, and there's modifiers that you can get to play in here too. But it's a simple mechanic. You roll 2d6, you get 10 or greater success. You get a 7 or 9, and that's like a partial success or like a failing forward or like success with a cost they call it, or a 6 or lower is like a failure or a botch. And there's different, and there's always ways to like sort of narrate that. So it's pretty easy, it's pretty easy to run through. I mean, there's different, you have to worry about like the different playbooks and stuff like that as far as like the actual mechanics of the game. But as far as like rolling dice, that's it.
Yeah, that's really friggin' easy and straightforward. Age
Yep.
3d6. Roll high to beat a target number set by the GM And if two of those dice, well, you actually, wait a second, I have to rephrase that because you play with 3d6, but one of them is an odd color. And so if one of your two dice matches the odd colored dice while you roll, then you get what's called stunt points. So let's say you roll a 6-2-2, but you needed a 7 to beat the target number. So your combined total roll beats the target number, which is a success. And then two of those dice matched. So you would get two stunt points that are going to allow you to do things like bash another guy with your shield, maybe cast a spell faster. Depending on how many attack points you get, you can do multiple things, like maybe get another
Yep.
action out of the deal, kind of a thing. So as long
Yeah.
as two of the or those two of those dice, as long as you beat the target number and two of those dice match, you'll get stunt points for an extra thing. And it's just a simple roll 3d6 and beat a target number, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, the highest thing that I mean, you're gonna like the most difficult of a target number that you're ever gonna see in age is like 21. That's like a nigh impossible task. And that's gonna be, you have to roll an 18. I mean, you'll have to roll an 18 plus, and usually plus three is like the top modifier.
Yeah.
So you have well, there's varying. I mean, that's not 100% true. There's cases where you'll have like a bigger modifier, but yeah, like to essentially like max out, you got to like to do the hardest thing, you got to roll 18 plus three.
Hmm. You've been playing this system, Fantasy Flight's Narrative Dice.
Yeah, yeah, man. Actually, and the thing about it is too is before I really knew, I was trying to understand it when I picked it up. Like I want to say it was like 5 years ago when I started getting into it. Well, actually, it was a little bit before that because I think I picked up I think I had Age of the Empire right when it came out. Never played it, or played it a little bit. Didn't wanted to play it a little bit more, but never really never really had a chance to. We were doing some other stuff, and then I was gonna get ready to start doing this, but then I think this is when, like, right before I started getting into Savage Worlds. Well, actually, it was this, then Path, what was Starfinder, and then it was like Savage Worlds, and I was like, screw everything else. But no, I got back into this just because I had a bunch of books lying around, and everybody wanted to play Star Wars. And I'm like, well, screw it, I'm going to go ahead and run it. And actually, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And actually, there's a lot of it's a lot simpler than you make it out to be, or than it can be. And what's pretty fun though that I figured out is even though there is a point where everybody stops to watch and see what you're going to roll and they do all that stuff, but man, it starts really get exciting when you've been when they've been going through like this cavern and had to they had to swim and they had to like worry about these bad pockets of air in the cavern and these spiders nests and all this other stuff. And when they get to the edge of the cavern where they have to fight this big beast, there in my last game, man, they're just wanting to see how everything rolls. And so everybody's like standing up and watching me roll. All the players are watching one other player roll. So it's kind of neat in that sense. So it's kind of cool. And the way that they structure it too is they make it, well, in Savage Worlds, you have the extra system where you just like roll a d6, or you just like grab a, if you got five extras, you can grab five d6 and throw that and have that. And they kind of do the same thing in Fantasy Flight, Star Wars, where if you have a group of minions, you just roll a handful of dice for them and makes it a little easier. But yeah, once you get the rhythm going, it's actually not a bad little system, dude.
Hmm. There's things about it, like I guess when you get your abilities or whatever, you get like, you know, you can have ability in punching somebody in the face, and it's going to allow you to
Right.
get what, like, you get a base of 3 yellow success dice or whatever, and then
Yeah.
so that's your starting pool, and then based on what you do with the game master, you can switch your pool up. You roll some dice, negate certain ones, negate each
Yep.
other, and then you're left with what happens. What I like about this is that once I guess you get good at it, a player would know right away
Mm.
whether or not he succeeded or failed, and then he can just narrate,
No.
which is a
Yep.
thing that I really wish people would do more often. It's see, with ICRPG and having the static number on the table, people know right away when they win, but they never bother picking up the narration and running with it. So,
Oh,
I'm always like asking, what does that look like? What are you thinking? Anyways, that's one of the cool things that I like about that is right away when you roll those dice and you separate everything out, you've got either a success with whatever, and you should be able to narrate it, and away you go. Last on the list is the 2d20. It's funny that you says you have the worst of all worlds. So rather than just rolling one d20, let's throw in two. And rather than roll high, let's roll as low as possible. And you have the 2d20 system. You take your
Yep.
attribute plus your skill equals a target number. The GM sets the success threshold, and you roll under the target number for success. What a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the
And
2d20
it's
system.
weird to me. And also too, like, there's different levels. All right, so the difficulty level, like there's a difficulty level 0, which you don't roll for, but you don't get the chance to like accrue momentum. There's that whole threat momentum mechanic. Um, and like you use momentum to buy extra dice to increase your chances and everything. It's really kind of in like you have to and if you have a different focus, that tells you whether or not that your success threshold, it's usually you have to roll a 1 or a 2 to get a success. But if you have a focus of something that you can knock it all the way, you can raise it up to a 4. So if you roll under a 4, that's going to be a success or something. But like, or an
Yeah.
automatic, or it's an automatic success is what I mean.
Yeah.
It raises
So
that threshold. It's kind of hard. Like I ain't gonna lie, man. It's not intuitive. It's not.
this is the thing.
It
CFTRPG in chat was saying that he hasn't had the opportunity to play DD20 systems, but he likes Conan John Carter IPs. And they are doing a Fallout one that's coming out this year, which I'm actually pretty stoked for. I might even actually buy that 2D20 system just so that I can have the material and convert it to something that I like to play. This is my horrible experience with the 2D20 system playing Conan. They have a mechanic in there called Doom, and it's basically like Benny's in Savage Worlds. You get so many Doom chips. Now here's my problem. As you're going around the table and playing, a player or the game master can say, "Give me a notice check," and you can add Doom. You can give the you can add Doom to increase your chances to do it, but that Doom goes into the game master's pot. And when you're sitting at a
yeah.
table with four other people and some idiot says, "Oh, I'm going to spend a bunch of Doom so I can succeed on this notice roll," and he gives all of that power to the game master, and then the game master uses said power from a fucking notice roll to put extra attack power or crush your freaking head, it becomes a problem because you're at a table with some dummy that's fucking spending Doom to to see a
like
thing
their
and
Skittles,
right.
so they're eating. Almost been. That's the
It
thing
was
that really kind of like and I always read this stuff and I always think of things from a GM standpoint, but I was totally looking at this from a player standpoint. I'm like, there's going to be somebody that really wants to pass, that really
yeah.
wants to do this. It's going to flip your whole Doom pool, Doom pool or whatever. Or it's in Star Trek. That's the one that I've read the most. Star Trek Adventures. It's got that. I guess they call it momentum and threat. And you if the more successes, if you get more successes, you accrue more momentum or whatever. But you can all it does is just tell you how to spend. All it's doing is like spend that momentum so that way you can do all this cool stuff. But then the GM is going to wax you. So
Which is literally what happened. You got some guy that you're sitting with he's like hell bent on making this successful notice roll, and then when it comes around to the game master's turn, he's spending all of the Doom that this guy gave him to fucking smash your head in, right? So you get the shit kicked out of you because this guy just wanted to be successful at his notice roll. It's like this is I don't know. It kind of drove me mental, and the whole rolling 2d20 and rolling low, I just find that as a cheesy gimmick. So, oh, I'm moving my stuff around here and I shouldn't be. Damn it. I screwed up the okay. So, wrapping
yeah,
up
it's a little
the
weird.
wrapping up the
It's a little weird.
dice section here, Jay. It's
Now,
pretty
real quick,
safe to say. Go ahead.
no, I just wanted to throw this one in too. Now, I don't know a whole lot about it, but there's Fate, and they use special dice, and I think what it is like you can get like plus like you roll, and you can either get like a +1 on your roll or a minus on your roll. But the whole thing about a Fate is you got to argue or make a point. You have to use these aspects, which will give you a bonus on that roll, whether or not you can take a +2 on that roll. And that's where I heard it said that it was not Fate is not word, it's not numbers crunchy, but it's word crunchy, if that makes sense.
Fate is? Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. I'm pretty sure that it's safe to say that neither of us are choosing the 2D20 system, right?
No, and there's another thing too I don't like about it. I don't really. Maybe it's because I don't understand it. Maybe because I'm an old ass man. Um, I'll let the D&D players call themselves grognards. I'll just say I'm an old ass, I'm an old ass man. Um, um, I don't really understand the whole aspect or everything like that. Um, where you got to argue, and it goes like Fate has these aspects where you're like king of the hill, or baddest hombre in town, and that shit where you got to, well, because I'm the baddest hombre in town, I should get a +2 to intimidate all these people. It's all that stuff where you got to state your case, and I'm like, later with that shit, I don't want you arguing with me. I don't want you. I don't want you lawyering up with me each and every time you're going to roll, because I know how my nephew would be. He'd be like, "Well, since I'm the king of the hill, I should be able to dominate in this race." I'm like, "Why should you be able to dominate in this race? That doesn't make any sense." Well, I should have a higher athletics because I'm king. I'm like, no, no, and I would spend 4 hours arguing the case with that. So
I feel like I would do the same thing. I feel like I would do the same stupid thing if I was playing the Fantasy Flight narrative dice system.
yeah,
Because it just seems like everything just becomes this, well, he's this far away. So what do you call it? Add a difficulty dice. Well, I got
yep.
this bow that gives me this. Well, add a bonus dice. And then there's this whole rigmarole where you and the player are going back trying to figure out what the dice pool is. And I'm like, get that out of here. Man, just fucking roll the dice so we can carry on with the story. I don't need to sit here and listen to you guys talk for 5 minutes about your freaking dice pool. It drives me mental. I'm sure that it becomes faster when you get more well versed, but man. All right.
Yeah.
So, out of all of these systems, which one are you picking and why?
For me, I like exploding. I like exploding dice, dude.
All right.
I really do. I think it really kind of like it didn't really like I remember getting a kick out of it when we played D6 Star Wars back in the day. But when we started playing Savage Worlds, and it just comes up a lot more, I think, than special occasions where it can happen on like every trait roll, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something, man. I was like, oh crap. You're telling me that when I roll my research roll for my nerd character and I ace on that and I get 3 aces, like something really, really good is gonna happen. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, wow, that doesn't necessarily happen in another game. So there you go.
All right.
Like you get a
So,
chance for these amazing successes in whatever you do with exploding dice.
I do want to say that you can mix and match, my friend. We are building your RPG, so
That's true.
the Raz RPG can steal elements. So you're going to go
That's
with
right.
exploding dice.
I'm going to go. You know what I would like to do? You know what I think would be a pretty and what I think would this is actually how I would like to run Age in a lot of senses. I would like to take Age's 3d6 stunt system, so the target numbers, the scaling target numbers with 7, 7 being routine and 21 being near impossible. Take all that, have the 3d6 system, but with exploding dice damage because there's a big hit pool creep with that game, or they can be. I'm saying the way to combat that is if you were playing cinematic, you give that you give those fuckers exploding damage dice, and that's how you negate that shit. And then you have a whole new ball game.
All right. So you've got exploding dice, and you've got. It's going to be a 3d6 system with exploding dice is what you're getting at. Exploding
Pretty
dice
much,
with
yeah.
the. I hate you so much right now.
Oh, is that what you were gonna say?
It's totally what I was going to do, my dude.
Well,
It's
we're just on
totally
the same level. All
it's
right. Well,
totally what I was going to do. No, that's
well,
cool.
I'm gonna. No, no. Hold on. I'm gonna do Power by the Apocalypse with Genesis dice. I'm just gonna have one green one and one yellow one, and or no one no, one green one and one purple one. I'm just gonna have those two dice. That's what that's my game's called on. It's gonna be called on like, it's gonna be the quick narrative system. It's gonna or no, I gotta think of something that sounds like an STD. Like
Wow. Okay. Well, while you're doing
or
that,
yeah, we'll get
let me
back
get
to
into
that.
my explanation. I really think stunts is cool. It adds an element to the game that it makes every freaking roll exciting, just like exploding dice make every roll exciting. 3d6 is relatively simple. Your target numbers are easy to beat because you're not gonna freaking ace all the time, right? So if you're looking at a value between 3 and 18 as your target number for hard to easy, and then with your exploding dice you can go a step above that. So what I would do is I would take the 3d6 system. Is going to be my base. Your 3d6. I'm also throwing on exploding dice, but on your 3d6, your first roll is the roll in which you count your stunts if it's a success. Maybe I might change that up. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's your final roll is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say final roll. So your final roll, because that way it lets you get through all of the rolls. So I'm going final roll. 3d6 exploding dice. Your final roll is going to be the one that determines your stunt points. So when you're finished, you're blowing up all your dice. 3d6 exploding. Your final roll is where you get your stunts, and that's why I'm taking from this, because the exploding dice is awesome. And then what I'm going to do too in my dice system to expand a little bit is there's going to be levels of success. So in a 3d6 system, if the target number is X, this speaks to another mechanic, but if you roll X amount of points above that, you're going to be allowed to add like a raise dice to your damage as a separate mechanic. But that's still just going to be like a 3d6, because I think what I'm going to do is just make my weapons. But anyways, we're going to talk about this in another one. So I think we're both doing the same thing, exploding dice using 3d6. And we're going to set our target numbers, and we're going to roll and hopefully get some stunts out of the deal.
Yep, scaling target numbers. Yeah, to a degree. I was going to call them something else. I was going to call them cool things to do. Or I don't know. I was going to give them another name. I don't listen to me. No, but like stunts. You know why I like stunts, and I think this is the reason why. Maybe that we're similar in the mindset in this, because they actually lay out prompts for you to do. If if you're playing like Dungeons and Dragons or you're playing Savage Worlds, for instance, there's a sheet. There's always there's always different combat options you can do. You can always aim. You can always defend. You can always do all these other things, right? But nobody ever does them.
No,
nobody ever does it. All they're going to do is they're going to cast a spell, or they're going to shoot a gun, or they're going to whack somebody. That's the three things they're going to do, and you can always anticipate that. That's it. However, though, with the stunts, they kind of force you into these other options. They kind of force you to actually consider other options. And they're like, okay, you get a chance to do all this stuff. What are you going to do now? They give you a chance to like open up the game a little bit and like, oh, I didn't know I could do all that.
Okay, that's funny. You're gonna call them cool things or something. We're gonna, as we progress, we're gonna start blending our mechanics with other things, right? Like like with the stunts and stuff like that, and the exploding dice and how that's gonna work. But I think for now, with those set aside, so the both of us are right off to a rolling start, man. 3d6 exploding dice. Beat a target number, and that determines success or failure. And that's going to apply to, we're going to call them traits, which is skills and abilities, just like Savage Worlds, pretty much anything, those abilities. So I think next time then what we're going to do on the next show is let's talk about traits, skills, and abilities. And
how you want to structure that too, like whether or not, there's the old, like, do you want to use just modifiers, or do you want to use scores, or like, why do you have a score that equals a modifier, like Dungeons and Dragons, or something to that effect, or you want like a trait to correspond with a different dice roll or something. Yeah, that's totally what we ought to talk about.
Yeah, and then we can we'll define how in 2 weeks when our next show comes up, how our 3d6 exploding dice works in conjunction with our trait skills, our skills and abilities. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, let me smash some buttons over here because we got to hit the outro. Outro bedliner. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. All right, that is it for this edition of the Murder Hobo RPG Show. We hope you enjoyed it. And now that it's 2021, we started caring. Just a little, though. Get your vaccinations, you conspiracy theory freaks, so we can start conventions in person again. Looking forward to hanging out with my buddy Uncle Jay. Maybe get down and see some salty Matt Stark. Give him a kick in the nards for being a jerk all the time. And suck at John Marlin, because I haven't said that enough this episode.
Yep. Give Lamoureux some sweet, sweet, sweet loving.
And maybe just one.
That's sweet. Just one sweet love. There you go. So if you're interested in submitting to community questions so you can hear us poke fun at you and not answer your questions honestly, you can do so at murderhoboshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, send your hate mail to bleep.2d20.
It's so good every time. I think that is my favorite part of the show, man.
Oh, do you like that?
Really, it's the best. It's my favorite part. I never know what you're going to say, and then
I come up with awesome. 5 seconds. I come up with the 5 seconds before. I don't think about it before I come up with 5 seconds, so that way it's always fresh.
You know, it's always fresh. Like, I've been with my wife for 30 years, and every time she shows me her boobs, it's an amazing experience.
Ain't that the truth, man? Right? I'm not that I'm talking about your wife's boobs, but like my wife's boobs too. I'm like, yes,
right.
Those I can see those whenever I kind of want to.
It is the same thing with your friggin' bleep.2d20. Every time I hear it, it makes me giggle. Oh man, you can also get us on Twitter at The Murder Hobo Show, on YouTube at The Murder Hobo Show, where I show you how to make 3-dimensional battle maps for role-playing in Tabletop Stimulator, among other stuff. You can watch me do this live on Twitch. I got to get into the action of doing this sometimes, but I haven't done it in a while. Here at the Murder Hobo Show, but be warned, like I said, there isn't a set time. It's pretty random. And this is the part of the show where we ask you to check out some content creating fellow members of the network, but we're going to say screw it to this part, and you're going to read the blue part, Jay.
Sure thing. So you can find the things that we discussed in the show notes, organized by most recent at the top, over at murderhoboshow.podbean.com.
Yes. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show where we talk about things we know little to nothing about and sound professional doing it. Right, Jay?
Correct.
Yes. All right. Have a great gaming week. We are out of here. Say a thing, Uncle Jay.
I will say a thing. Au revoir.
Oh my God. Are you trying to be all fancy like Lamoureux?
Yeah, I'm going to start going au revoir. I don't even know how to say it right, but I'm going to start au revoir.
Wow. All right, screw this place. It's bullshit and I'm out of here. The Murder Hobo RPG Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or that appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All items are used under fair use for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo RPG Show. Copyright 2021. All rights reserved.